don't know how to go hat or shirt. I have limited size left. It's on me. Where is it? With everything else.
Welcome to Lethal Sales Live for the weekly podcast for car people who play to WIN.
And I thought I would start with something unique just because I've renamed the show to A Long Strange Trip It's Been Show. So even though Larry's not on, I figured, okay, let's do something. So I'm going to play the trailer from a rock band some of us may know called the Grateful Dead. And it's about, ironically, a long strange trip it's been. This is from Amazon. So just so I don't get having troubles, there is an Amazon link. You can watch it. I didn't create this. I'm just stealing it temporarily. Here we go.
There was a conscious decision in my life to be involved in something that was flowing and dynamic and living, something that had a life of its own. I was just a part of it.
This is the Holy Grail. This has never been seen. I don't know why.
What is it about the Grateful Dead?
Grateful Dead. The narrative of the Grateful Dead was that we're the same as you. You're the same as us. There is no real distinction.
The camaraderie, the fellowship in that is so powerful. Yeah, let's have some fun.
We were experimenting with psychedelics as much as we were playing music.
It's a philosophy of leaving yourself open to possibility and leaving yourself open to magic.
The acid test experience really formed.
So that gives you a sense. If you want to watch the documentary, I don't know if it's good or not, but it is available, I believe, on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure if it costs money or not, but anyway, here we go. So let's stop share. I'm going to move it over. And if you want to know, I'll put the link in the chat, but you can look it up on YouTube, I think is where I got it. So it's about the Grateful Dead. All right, let me see here. And Larry's not going to be on because there is a Jewish holiday. Yeah,
it's the Jewish holiday.
So I don't know anything about it, but I did post some history stuff on LinkedIn if people want to know.
All right, I'll give you a Reader's Digest. I'll give you a Reader's Digest.
Give me the Reader's Digest. I'm all ears.
And then I will say goodnight and wish everybody well. Last week was the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah.
Okay.
So we celebrated the Jewish New Year, and that was a wonderful celebration.
Okay.
Now we're going into Yom Kippur, which is the highest holy day of the year.
Right.
And the to follow tradition is you eat a meal this afternoon or now, and then you fast until tomorrow afternoon at sunset, and then you break the fast. So it's the Day of Atonement. So for Jews, it's the highest holy day, and it's a day that you pray and you're forgiven from your sins from your previous year, and you get to start fresh.
Okay, so it's very important.
So it's there's a couple of very Jewish holidays right now. And this one's the highest. And so it's the Day of Atonement, and it's very somber. It's very, you remember people who you prayed for that you've lost in your life. And it's just a very solemn holiday. So with that being said, I wish you guys a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next week. We'll be back at it hard. And
of course.
Talk to you guys soon.
Well, all the best to you. And
Gary, before you go, are you able to watch the Red Sox beat the Yankees tonight? Just a question.
Yeah, I can. The TV can always be on. We don't have a problem with that. Go Sox. Go Sox. All right.
Fantastic.
Hey, Mike, and one last thing. Tucker got 1.4K views or something today, so he's starting to get his own following. I mean, so when I post. I just leave Tucker on there, and I was able to promote United Car Care at the same time. Have a good evening.
Viral.
Yep.
See you.
Talk to you guys.
Fantastic. Well, I thought I would start with, one of the sponsors of the show I do on Mondays is a company called VidCalls. If you're not familiar with VidCalls, we're currently offering a 60-day free trial. That's 60 days on us. So if you're interested, go to vidcalls.com for more details. And then, of course, if you watch the show on Monday, which was on robots versus people versus AI, there's more details on that, but it is $1,600 in value at absolutely no cost. So definitely check that out. And let's get into the long, strange trip it's been show. We have Mr. Doug Reeves on, Mr. Mike and Russell Hill. Obviously, Rhonda and Larry aren't on because of Yom Kippur, which I learned a little bit about. That's not my background, but I was, obviously always happy to celebrate a religious holiday of any type, being that that's important to have spirituality in your life. I was actually at an event last night, which was kind of interesting for what's called the Alberta Prosperity Project. Alberta wants to become their own country. And there was a bunch of people in a room, and I videotaped it. I don't have it out yet, but it was very interesting because the woman for the prayer at the beginning of this event talked about Mr. Payne, who's actually one of the founders of the U.S., and she quoted part of what he said about hard challenges in her prayer to start the meeting. So it was really interesting, just the history of, I guess, 1890s Western North America and what that looked like. But more importantly, and this was something that I think has been interesting around the strange trip topic, the reason some politicians don't do the hard things is they don't want to do anything. They just want to blame everybody else. And I was walking by a car today on a walk I had today, and it was like, yeah, just do more stuff. There's always stuff to be done. And I was like, if only the politicians did that, if they actually accomplished something, that would probably be useful. But anyway, I guess I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about, I guess, my journey. And I'm sure Mike has some stories about his journey. But most people that I talk to in the car business say, hey, I fell into it. I wasn't planning on going down that road, but I fell into it. And I guess my question for you, Mr. Mike, since you're the one on the screen, obviously we got Doug and we got Russell. How did you get into the car business? And has it been a strange trip, not endorsing any kind of pharmaceuticals or other, but has it been a strange trip for you? And how did you start?
With me, I just by accident fell into this, as everybody else seems to do. It's the people that I've met that kept me into it.
Mm-hmm.
The people I haven't met, and that I don't really care for, or the egos get in the way more so than any other industry I've touched on.
Right.
I heard a statistic today that only 38% of people in general trust a car dealer, and that number hasn't moved. It's up or down. It's stayed consistent, and with all that we're doing and trying to promote a movement to put it on the fourth rung of the ladder of society. The first rung is politicians, which you mentioned.
Yeah.
The second rung, I think we'd all agree, is lawyers.
Correct.
And the third rung is car dealers.
Yeah.
They want to move up to number 4 and then getting more trust. And the movements I've seen are attempting to do that, but it's the rest of the guys, the rest of the 99%, who are of the mentality of, we've never done it that way, so we're not going to do it your way, or we're not going to change because we're successful in spite of ourselves.
Right.
Right. And they get hit with millions of dollars worth of fines from government, and they still keep on keeping on and doing it the same way. So what's the deterrent? What's the incentive for them to get on that next rung of the perception of society where they can at least get above 40%?
Well, that goes back to why I got in the business. I mean, I had a passion for cars, had a family history, but when I got into retail not because of the perception of car dealers, even though that kind of was on my radar a little bit. Why I got into it is I said, okay, I've been in sales at that point for maybe 10 years, and I've sold all kinds of stuff. And I said, if the bar is set that low, if people are really that bad at selling cars, if it's really perceived as that horrible, I've got to be able to do better than that. And to compare it to lawyers and politicians, coincidentally, most politicians are former lawyers anyway, probably because they weren't very good at being a lawyer. But, so they moved up the rung back to the worst position from one now. But the way that, and the same thing would be true, I think, if you wanted to change things for the better, is do something where all you have to do is be that good at it and everyone else is down here. But to your point, why don't we raise the floor versus bring people in that have to do it themselves? And I think that that's pretty easy. And I have a couple things that happened to me today that kind of play into that. So I had to buy a new phone because my phone died. So the guy who sold me the phone worked for one of these phone guys, whatever, Verizon, AT&T, they're all the same. So he sold me the phone, and then he sold me an extended warranty on the phone, which I was fine with. I was busy, so whatever. And then I realized I really didn't want that. I wanted to buy it from the actual manufacturer of the phone, similar to a car. So I called them up, and I said, can I cancel that, and can you sell me the one for the guys who make the phone? Oh, we don't do that. You have to buy it direct. So I said, okay, so you generated $16 billion last year, and you can't figure out how to sell a warranty for the phone that you actually retail. They said, yeah. I said, oh, okay. So let me call them and see what happens. And it was really interesting because I've been an Apple customer for a while, but I also have a Google Pixel 9 as well. So I called Apple and I said, hey, can you help me buy this warranty on my phone? And coincidentally, how did they help me do that? It was really interesting. Well, if you're familiar with tech support, and I used to work in the computer business years ago, so it's a strange trip from computer business to the retail car business. Anyway, so I kind of went back in my life to pre-computers when I was later on. So it's kind of reversed. You used to call people, and then they log in your computer and they say, oh, okay, Mike, let me fix that for you. Let me show you how to do it, right? So the thing that was interesting with Apple is they can do this on any device. So they can do it on a phone, they can do it on a computer, they can do it on, I guess, a desktop. But the thing that was interesting is the first thing he said is, I can't see what I'm doing on your computer. I can't change anything. I'm just going to show you step by step how to do it. So this red arrow pops up on your device, which in my case happened to be a phone. And he said, okay, go to this, click here, go to that, click here. Go to this, click here. And I was running this back in my head because I was thinking obviously about Doug Reeves. I was thinking about vid calls. I was thinking about digital retail. And I said, okay, so the guy that sold you the phone, similar to the guy that sells you the car, may not be able to sell you tires or extended warranty, but the guy who gets the job done or the gal who gets the job done can certainly do that later. They just got to make it easy. And I'm not saying a Google phone or a Samsung phone or an Android phone or an iPhone is any better or different. It's really kind of like tomato. I mean, it's a phone. Like, it's not really that different. It has service. But what was different was that experience, but more importantly, how they were able to help me buy something that probably I could have figured out, but they just had that concierge service where they were able to do that. So it was really interesting. They also tried to upsell me to a family plan, a bunch of other stuff, which was kind of interesting. But I think that was really interesting because it was dealing with the fear of, oh, you're going to look at stuff on my computer or my phone or whatever. But then it was like, let me help you, give us money. So it was really, really interesting. But we have Doug on the call, and I know Doug has nothing to do with customer experience and nothing to do with a single selling model, and knows nothing about maybe creating a better experience, but maybe he has some comments on the strange trip his life has been. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm certainly one of those that came out of nowhere into this industry. So I was working at a clothing store.
Yep.
Family owned, but it wasn't my family, so I had to find a new job. I got a headhunter.
Yeah.
Got me an interview with a company called Pat Ryan, which is now, it turned into Resource, and permeated from there to other things.
Yep.
And in the process of trying to learn about this Pat Ryan and the auto industry, of which I knew nothing, it led me to a company called Profit Strategies.
Okay.
I called them up to ask them about Pat Ryan. They said, well, when you're done interviewing with them, come interview with us.
Right.
So I interviewed with Pat Ryan, thought I killed it, never heard a thing from them. Went to interview with Profit Strategies, and I thought I was going to get the Pat Ryan job, so I just shot from the hip and was pretty flippant in this interview, and they ended up hiring me. And a year later, the two principals didn't agree with each other, so we bought out the president. I became part of the owner of the company, and 26 and a half years later, I left that, and now I'm with A to Z. But it's funny joining this industry. My naivete was probably my strength. What I didn't know led me to say, "Why couldn't you?" as opposed to "Why are you?" And I think that curiosity, that willingness to say, "Why couldn't you do something this way?" it still powers me to this day.
So what would you say to a young person or an older person that maybe, I don't know, is doing something and maybe doesn't like doing that and maybe hadn't considered the car business as to why they should at least give it a fair shake or at least take a closer look and lean in? Like, what would you say to those folks?
Because I think, especially if they're going to go on the sales side, if you really think about it, you have the opportunity to have your own business within the walls of the dealership. The dealership will provide you inventory. The dealership will provide you administrative support. You build your book of business. You build your client base. You build it. You create your own business within the walls. Not a lot of companies are going to allow you to do that. Not a lot of industries will. But those that really thrive in auto, that's what they do. And you have that opportunity if you pick the right dealership.
That's a great idea. But also, I mean, to your point, and it's funny, I've talked to people that sold anywhere from 8 cars a month to 100 cars a month. And I think when you're looking at someone who, say, is a business person or worked for a business or had their own business, I mean, really running a car dealership or even working in one is pretty much as close as you can come to owning your own business without a lot of the risk. So if you're looking to do something that's outside of the box, you're looking to do something that has some career longevity. I've been in probably 20 different sides of the business now, and also something that's different. The car business is something you should look at, but more importantly, it's number 3 on the list. So it's not a legal job or a political job. So essentially, you have room to go down the list and improve, whereas on the other ones are already at the top of that bad list. So you're on Santa's bad list anyway, but at least you're number 3.
Well, that and the fact that I believe in most instances the cream does rise to the top in the auto industry. And if you do have the wherewithal, it won't take you long to prove that you're better than most of the knuckleheads in the dealership that you're working at, and you will rise through the ranks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing that I think is really interesting. And I've worked with people in the car business who had limited education, some with a lot of education. But to your point, there's nothing to say someone started off washing cars couldn't be owning a dealership one day. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say that you start out as a used car salesperson or even a receptionist. I've even seen, and then you end up selling cars and managing a store one day. So when you look at other jobs in the corporate world, pick it, banks, government, whatever, that might be a much longer road. But more importantly, and I've even had the opportunity to interview people who've had this happen in their life. Sometimes if you've made a couple bad choices in your life, you can turn it around in the car business because they're a little bit more forgiving of, what can you do? What can you get done? And I think in a lot of cases, and I guess Russell maybe had some thoughts on this, but I certainly do. Years ago, when I went to look for jobs, it was like what was in the newspaper. And then what was I willing to do with my own hustle with some printed resumes to get a job? But that's still true today in the car business. You can literally go into car dealerships, walk in with a resume and walk out with the job. Like it can happen in 2025. And I can't think of another industry that really goes on all that often outside maybe restaurants. You don't see too many corporate jobs go, yeah, I'm just going to roll into their head office See if they're hiring right now. Like that doesn't happen very often. And I think that's
you're exactly
interesting.
right.
Yeah. So what would you say is the strangest job you've had in the car business or in and around the business that you didn't expect?
The strangest thing for me was, so I worked for an F&I agency.
Okay.
And probably 2 or 3 weeks into my job, and bear in mind that I literally knew nothing about the industry, let alone the F&I side of it.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks into the job, my boss at the time says, hey, there's a Honda show down in Denver.
Yeah.
One of our dealers is going to be there. Why don't you come with me and let's go to the Honda show and we'll just go around and meet people. I was like, okay, fine. I was there probably 20 minutes and he said, you need to jump in and take deals. You need to fill in for them in finance. I didn't know how to use a computer. I didn't know anything. And they have me pitching F&I products to customers that, and I literally don't know what the hell I'm doing. I am flying by the seat of my pants. And the only thing that I could sell, which wasn't even our product, was paint and fabric because it made sense to me. I was like, look, you should buy this shit because you'll never have to wash your car again. And people were buying it. But other than that, I knew nothing. And that was the strangest day of my life because imagine you're 3 weeks in the industry and they throw you in the box and say, start pitching products.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't see that at a bank, eh? Why don't we put you into the mortgage office? We'll get you talking to people about finance right out of the gate.
Right.
Let's do that.
Right.
And what do you say, Mike? I mean, what's the strangest situation you've dealt with? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I hear it all the time when I do a demo or something.
Yeah.
And I hear this question a lot. Do we got to throw another body at this? It's like, no, you don't need to throw another body at this. And all respect to the ones that have products and they need to train the staff, and the staff poo-poos them after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then after, half the contract is up, they're gone.
Yeah.
Or they're asked, hey, we're not going to do your stuff anymore. So when I approach anyone that I want to work with, I always say, look, I'm going to show you what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you what I did, and I'm going to show you how we're going to improve the next month, but I'm not going to have or train your folks to do something that I'm an expert at. You guys sell cars.
Right.
Stick to that.
Right.
I'm going to help you with X, Y, and Z, and I'm an expert in that. So to answer your question, no.
So did the body go in the trunk, or did I have to shoot someone out back?
You were doing the back with the baby.
Did I got to go out in the street and find someone to do that job? Do I have to train them on how to do it? Yeah,
but if you think about it, if you're providing a service to any rooftop in America, you should be able to do and serve without having them to stop what you're doing, learn what I do, learn how to sell what I do to your customers, and then pay me for that. I think that's wow. Too many moving parts, and when you're getting in front of somebody, you ought to know your product, how it helps them, how you can increase the value, and then it'll help you do better what you're already doing.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy. I mean,
what's weird about that is when you're an F&I product provider, and I can't think of another position or another vendor.
Yep.
Like when I was doing it, my job was not only, bring in the products that make sense, but it was my job to make their team better at selling it. And I don't recall any other company having to come in, or any other thing having to come into a dealership that you had that pressure on you. And by the way, we'll sell your shit, but if my numbers don't go up, you're out of here. I'll bring somebody else in. I don't hear anybody else having to do that because nobody. That was unique pressure in the F&I world, was that you had to have great products and you had to have great ability to train people to sell the shit too. So it was a lot of pressure.
Well, have you ever seen that series Undercover Boss?
Yeah.
So there was one I watched years ago on the Subway Corporation. So they had the guy in charge of franchise development for Subway. So they like sent him in to make sandwiches. Like that was his deal, right? So he rolls into the first Subway and he starts taking all this time making sandwiches because he's a sandwich artist. And the lady who owns the franchise goes, "What the fuck are you doing, dude? You can't take 20 minutes to make a sandwich. Like it doesn't work that way.
It's lunchtime, dude.
It doesn't work that way." And he was selling franchises, but he never made a sandwich in his life at a location. And I'm like, how did this guy manage to get that job? But more importantly, why didn't he do some remedial, like, I don't know, making sandwich stuff? Like, it's like the guy who goes into the sandwich place, like Subway is a good example, or even whatever. And instead of going to order and then waiting, he goes to the end. He goes, "Oh, can I get a 12-inch sub?" Like ahead of everybody else. It's like, what?
He was too busy working on his costume.
Well, I had to go get an eye test done at this hospital. And it was almost epically related to Subway. So they had check-in next to one lady and check-out next to the other lady. So my wife's like, "Oh, you got to talk to that person." I'm like, "No, that says outgoing. This one says ingoing. So I got to go over there." So I went to the ingoing. "Okay, I'm checking in to do this test." And she goes, "Oh, well, there's nobody there. So why don't you come out to the outgoing?" So it was like they weren't even following their own process and they had signs. I was like, what are you doing? Like, at least roll over to the other desk so it looks like it kind of makes sense. It's just hilarious to me. But Russell,
What?
how did you get into the car business? And I know it's been a long, strange trip, but how strange has it been?
So, okay. Started in 1968 when Hot Wheels first came out, and I got my first set of Hot Wheels.
Yep.
Fell in love with the automotive business. 1985. It was time to do something different. I thought I was really good at selling illicit drugs on the street, but it turns out I really wasn't. So I thought I would try my hand at something legal. And so I got into the car business in 1985 and really didn't know what I was doing, but I had a great mentor. His name is Mike Biggers, who's still a friend of mine today, long since retired.
Yeah.
And there was a pivotal moment, at least the way I remembered, about 90 days into it. I did really well at the first couple months. And then you see, I got pretty smart. I figured it out and I flatlined, right? So back then, you could never let a customer drive the car off the lot. They're very strict about, touching the desk, 6-point walk arounds, following the road to the sale. It was 8 steps, 10, 12, whatever it is over the years, depending on who you work for. It's all the same. There is a process. There is a road to sale. And if you deviate from it and take shortcuts, it costs you gross, repeat, referral, CSI, and SSI.
Yep.
So I was flatlining, and Mike Biggers took me under his wing. Back, I wasn't really committed anyway. I was just, I'm just going to check it out. And so he took me under his wing and he said, take me through the process. We had this very strict 6-point walk around. It was part of building, to the apex there, and the demo ride was it. So I would start out under the hood. I would walk around, point out these things, and then I would open the driver's door and I would leave it open, okay, and keep one leg outside, and the customer would mirror me. He would have the door open, or she or them, and I would start talking about feature, advantage, and benefit, right?
Yep.
And then I'd say, "Hey, you want to take it for a spin? You want to go for a demo ride?" No. I got brain surgery in 5 minutes. Sounds good. I'm going to have to get the wife and kids to come back later on this afternoon. I appreciate it. And I was asking, and there was a pivotal moment right then and there. He said, "This is what I want you to do. don't ask. While your hand reaches for the pull your leg in, shut the door, and say, "Come on, let's go." "Oh no, I can't." "No, come on, we're just gonna go around the block. Come on, you know you want to drive. Come on, let's go." Shut the door. And they shut the door, and they did exactly what I told them, and that changed everything.
100%. I mean, I remember I was learning to sell cars. So the guy that I work for happened to be from North Carolina. I think he's now in Florida anyway. And he was like, learn all the cars. So go and drive them all. And I was a Honda guy, so I knew Hondas anyway and driven them, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And I still remember the first deal that I did. And we were negotiating hard. It was like on a Honda Civic, so there's no money in it anyway. But we were negotiating hard with the guy. And then we ended up sitting down in the general manager's office with me, him, and the customer. And the customer's like, "Oh, I got to shop around." This, he goes, "I'm loyal to this deal." He goes, "So how much is the loyalty worth? Is it $50 loyalty? Is it $75? And I sat there and I laughed really hard because I think we ended up getting the deal for $100 or something like that. But it was like the most ridiculous thing. But what got me hooked at that point was that you could think outside the box. You could do things differently. Sure, you had to follow a process, and I understood that.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's when people think they know.
Yeah.
They get crazy. So I remember back right after the pandemic, I think it was the first NADA after the pandemic. And some people were in masks, some people weren't, whatever. And the car dealers were all walking around going, "Yeah, I got it all figured out, man. I'm just printing money right now. It's all good. It's going to go on forever." And I'm sitting there going, "That's going to be bad."
Yeah, well, look at it right now. It's bad. They hung people out to dry. 84 months, all the payment. It'd be 66 months for they even break even.
Yeah.
And we still got a couple more years to go. And what's happening in dealerships? They're flatlining.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not sure who said this. He says, I think someone at this show said this to me. He says, just when you think you have everything figured out, you're about to get slaughtered. The business is going to teach you a lesson, and it won't be a good lesson. You probably shouldn't keep thinking that. And it was funny because at the time, I think Steve Greenfeld came out with his book, and he had this graph of car growth over, 15 years. So he said, okay, here's where we were, average car growth. Here's where we are now. Here's where we're going to. And there were like 300 car dealers, and they were like, what are you talking about? You don't know anything. Yeah, it's all good. We finally taught the customer to pay too much. It's all good, and we fine. Yeah. And pretty much fast forward now, 2-3 years later, and it's pretty much exactly what he said. Yeah. But the thing that's really interesting to me on the car dealer side, but even in the industry side, the reason the car business has really been interesting to me from a strange journey point of view, but also just from an interesting point of view, and I've worked in lots of other sales jobs, some that I'm good at, some not as good at. But the thing that's really interesting about the car business is it's dynamic. The people in it are dynamic. The experiences with customers are dynamic. I mean, there's good, bad, and ugly. That's in everything. But the most interesting thing about it is you never know everything. If you think you do, to your point, I got the car sales down. I can spot the buyer versus not. I know when they're going to buy, what they're going to buy. I don't even have to ask questions. I just sign the check. That's when you got a big freaking problem.
It's incredible, but I mean, it's the largest, smallest business. I mean, it's you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish, regardless of your background. In most cases, if you have the right attitude and you go in there and you treat it as your business and learn it, and don't be stumbling because. So in 1985, right? The average salesperson sold 10 cars. In 2025, it's 9.7. Okay, so I'm hearing the same crap all over the place that I did 40 years ago. Okay, it's the same thing. I mean, there's 5 or 6 basic objections, and most people can't even overcome those. I mean, But if you're one of those 5%ers. You can go out there, don't listen to those naysayers saying you can't do that. I tried that. That won't work, because what you're going to do is interrupt them because you just did.
Yeah.
And I see him, Mike, we do too. Mike and I see him almost every day in different rooms and stuff like that in the morning on Clubhouse. people that rise to the occasion, and they don't listen to the naysayers, right? Because, hey, man, if it is to be, it's up to me.
Yep.
And you know, if you take responsibility and you take charge of your own destiny, and you have a big enough why, that enthusiasm, that excitement, if you focus on the why, that enthusiasm and excitement will be high, the action will be great, and the results will be phenomenal. But if you take your eye off the why, you're going to be 6 months later, you're going to be spiraling down. The enthusiasm and excitement's going to wane. The action isn't what it once was, and you're not seeing the same results. And you know what? It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's his fault. It's her fault. You don't understand. You see, I suffer from terminal uniqueness. Now, that's all a bunch of bullshit.
Well, there's a great exercise. If you're a car dealer, if you're a manager, if you're a salesperson,
this hand thing keep going up here? I don't understand.
It's got AI, so when you do this, the hand eventually shows up.
Oh, okay. So what's that in the background? What did you say, Mike? I couldn't hear you.
Go ahead, Mike.
What did you say? Terminal what?
Unique.
Uniqueness.
Yeah, I'm unique. You don't understand. I'm terminally unique. None of your circumstances compare to mine. You see, mine is different. Mine is unique, and I suffer from terminal uniqueness. That's why I'm highly unsuccessful today.
That's like when I talk to car dealers and they go, my customers are different. My market is different. My brand is different. And I kind of laugh, but the exercise, it's a great exercise. If you're a car dealer, if you're a manager, if you're a salesperson, it even doesn't matter the industry, is you get in front of a room of other people in the industry. Your sales meeting is a good example. And you say, hey, let's come up with all the objections that you've ever heard, even the unique ones, and let's put it on the board. And then once you've done all that, you just cross off the ones that are the same, and you always get to a list of.
Are you guys hearing something I am?
Yeah, I'm hearing something in the background. I don't know where it's coming from.
That might be me.
It's a radio or something?
I got the game going on.
Oh, okay, that's
in
what
the background. And the Yanks are leaving. Damn.
So the other thing I learned many years later is I would work the customer and I would work the desk. And I know that's strange and people don't really do that. But because of some things that happened in my life, and this was in 1994, I had to do something different because it's quite a thing to try to manipulate everybody and focus on where I was at and how much money I was making and doing whatever I had to do to put it all together. So then I stopped doing that. And I just focused on genuinely meeting the customer's needs and wants. I wanted them to like me, trust me, believe me, and buy from me. So I quit working the desk and I quit working the customer. I'd been out of management for about a year. I didn't want to go back into management, so I just sold for a little while because I needed to get my head straight. And I made more money not focusing on the money than I did when I focused on the money.
Yep, I read a store, and the dealer said, "Listen, we're going to pay the salesman a flat commission no matter what the negotiation is. They get paid a flat on new and a flat on used, and it was a sizable number. But what was interesting wasn't that. The salesman had worked me at the desk for the customer. I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter what the gross is. It's irrelevant, man. We'll pay you the same. So the sign on the store says it's not about the commission. But for you, it is. And it doesn't make any sense. What are you doing, dude? Why are you beating me up? I have no impact on your income. Like, none. You get paid the same amount. Like, you're just not in the game. But
if you're really doing your job, and I firmly believe this, if you're really doing your job selling and finding out their needs, wants, and desires and setting that level of expectation, but you're honest and transparent with them, I got to tell you, I don't remember a single time I ever lost a deal. If that's the vehicle they wanted to own, if I had them on the right vehicle, and I knew it, the deal, there's always a way to structure a deal, always a way. Even if they couldn't, we still got to a place where they said yes, even though financially there was some, back in the day, we didn't pull credit like that right away and stuff like that. but I didn't ever lost a deal over price. So, you know, I mean, if somebody comes, no, that's the car I want. Well, you're going to drive it. No, I don't need to drive it. I already drove it. No, you drove a Honda Accord. You didn't drive a Toyota Camry.
Yeah.
Well, it's all the same. I said, no, it's not. And I don't care. Well, let me tell you what they were going to sell the Honda Accord to me for. I said, I really don't care. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Well, of course it makes a difference because it affects what I'm going to pay for this car. If this is the vehicle you want to own, I don't care. I don't need to know. It doesn't change anything for me. If you want this vehicle, I'm going to make it work for you. And if you don't, we'll shake hands and part friends. That's the worst thing that could happen here.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got in trouble on a CSI from the manufacturer, and I worked at Honda because I forced the customer not to drive the car because they refused. I forced them to be a passenger on the test drive, and they reported me to Honda on the CSI saying I was too pushy on the test drive.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, what is going on here?
You know what's interesting to me, guys, is when I first started in the industry in '92.
Yeah.
I can't believe how crooked the industry was then compared to what it is now. I mean, when I tell people what it used to be like, especially penciling deals, and when there was no rate cap and the way you just took advantage of customers, the people's heads explode when you tell them what it used to be. I mean, God, it was the wild, wild west in the '90s.
Oh yeah,
I remember it. As a matter of fact, I was working for selling Chevy trucks in 1988, 89 at Gallus Chevrolet, and back then you didn't have to put the Maroni sticker on trucks. You could print your own, make it whatever price you want to. It wasn't even regulated back then. Talk about the Wild West. Whew.
I had a buddy.
I remember when every bank had their own banknote, so you would sign the customer on one banknote with it fully filled out. You'd have them sign 3 blank banknotes and say, hey, if I get you a better deal on one of these other banks, I don't want you to have to come back. And then they would just rape and pillage on the other banknote and send them that.
Yeah.
I had a guy I work with, and he'd mark up the used cars before the customer came in. So he changed the window sticker on the used car. And then he'd do it because the customers would come in, they want a big discount. And so what he'd do is he'd mark it up $3,000 and then he'd mark it down $1,000. It was the most ridiculous thing. I'm like, dude, why don't you just tell him the truth, dude? Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a finance department that if the customer agreed to a price of say $21,500,
yeah,
they would start contracting him at $22,500. And if the customer didn't catch it, they would just flow with it. And if they did, they'd say, oh, God, I'm glad you caught that. But they would it was literally a line item on their F&I log. It was called extra profit. And if they could take advantage of the customer that way, they would do it.
Well, I had a customer come in, and he had a PhD in mathematics. Okay. And they were quoting him payments. And I worked at a store that had a lease board that was loaded. So the lease board had higher payments than the website at the time. So he came in and we're working payments. And I didn't serve the payment, the finance manager would, and the manager or whatever. And then they would print it or write it or whatever it was. And he goes, oh, you're off by at least $30. Actually, it was $29.75. And I'm like, what? He's like, oh, yeah, I did the calculations, amortize this, and it means that. And then I remember I rolled into the finance manager's office, and she goes, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, well, he can do the math in his head, so good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got to ask, because I was, absent, but what was the topic tonight?
What a long, strange trip it's been. So what I did was there's a documentary on the Grateful Dead. I started with that because there's a song, I think, or a line. But also, I think when you look at the car business, people look at the front, or they look at the end, or they look at the middle. But what they don't look at, and I think this is true in life in general, if you had told me when I was 18 that this is what I'd be doing at 56, I'd be like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. Like, that's the journey? Like, that's the trajectory? Like, how is that possible? Like the different points, like they don't
Yeah.
seem fine looking back. But looking forward, if you would have told me, okay, you're going to do this for a while, then you're going to do that, then you're going to go over here. It just
Yeah.
doesn't seem.
Yeah.
Cause
I would have never thought it, because when I was 18, I didn't think I'd make it to 25. So
yeah, like, I mean, I think people think there's this straight line. Like I get a college degree, then I get a job at a bank, and then, you know, at like 50, I'm the CEO of the bank. It's just not that way. And I think the car business is a great example of that, because the trajectory can be all over the place, more so than normal life. But it's also true with business. I mean, I remember I was listening to someone who's a business owner talk about it. I go, well, yeah, if you're not good at managing fires, you probably shouldn't get in the business. And I would say the car business is a great training ground for that. Because I remember getting into it.
Listen,
it's like, woo.
You have to love people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I have seen during the downturn in 2000, the tech corridor in North Dallas, Plano.
Yeah.
A lot of those people were, you know, laid off, companies shut down or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, the salespeople, a lot of them ended up applying for jobs at car dealerships. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not saying all, because always and ever, you know, all that stuff, you can't really say that. So when somebody says, I never do this, or I always do that, I always take pause, because honestly, they're full of shit. Okay. You don't ever, never, always, you know, it just doesn't, you know, so anyway, these people came into the car business. Most of them fell flat on their face, most of them. But I've seen the opposite. I've seen people master what they're doing in the car business and building relationships, and they could go anywhere and be successful. I don't know what it is about that salesmanship versus the cars. I just, unless it's just, you got to keep it simple. It's all about the relationship. That's what it's all. In the end, it's all about the relationship. If they like you, they trust you, believe you, they're going to buy from you.
Well, I got a real life story.
It's really.
I got a real life story.
It's really interesting. The other thing that's really interesting to me is when I see somebody who's been in the industry a long time and they leave for a while. Maybe they get out of the industry, and then within 18 months, whatever, they're back in. They invariably, when they come back, they're better than when they left.
Yep.
And I think it's because when they leave, their brain is so clogged with so much crap, but when they come back, they realize all I really have to do is X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And all the noise becomes irrelevant. And
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll use the example of my dad, who happened to be a medical doctor, but he grew up in a car family, so he sold cars for a while. So he became a medical doctor, and he passed, unfortunately, years ago. But I remember going to his wake, and he also taught medical students. So when he left and he moved from Toronto to Baltimore and taught at Hopkins and out of practice, he gave all these files to the people that took over the patient files. And I remember talking to some of these students. I said, yeah, we got this file from your dad. And it said this person may have mental issues, like on the file. And we had no idea what that was. And then we met the patient and we were like, the person was freaking crazy, but your dad dealt with this person for like 10 years. How did he do that? I said, well, he got experience in the car business and he learned how to deal with people. And then, medical was he bolted that on, but it was the people skills that got it done. And they were like, what do you mean? I was like laughing at them. I'm like, guys, you have no idea what we deal with. And I remember it so succinctly when I first started selling cars and I was delivering my first car. And unluckily for me, it was a black car. And I expected perfection. I was like, the customer's going to see this and the customer's going to see that. And then I very quickly realized that was not possible. The guy cleaning it was doing something. The car wasn't perfect. It wasn't ready, whatever. And then after that, I realized that if you look at how much stuff we deal with in the car business, how many fires we got to put out, how many things we have to manage, how much stuff has to happen. And of course, water works really well with black cars, just so you know, just quickly spray it and you'll probably be fine. But, you panic about it initially, but really it doesn't matter. But when you look at business in general, the reason people fail a lot in business is not the business, not the idea. It's just because they can't manage the challenges. And the car business teaches you how to manage those like the Marines teach you how to be a drill sergeant, I guess. But it just teaches you that stuff at such a scale that nothing else really phases you. Like you can just handle it. And most people, they fold up when they have to handle that
Let
stuff.
me ask you guys a question then.
Yeah.
What do you think of the top 3 skills that you have to be successful in this industry, whether it's selling, service, whatever? What do you think the top 3 skills are that you have to have in order to be successful?
Number one's grit, in my opinion. You have to be very
Mhm.
gritty, very gritty.
Enthusiasm.
You have to, well, go ahead, Russell.
No,
Enthusiasm.
yeah.
I was going to say integrity. That's
Yeah.
not found too much in this.
In some cases.
Well, I mean, and I also say that empathy.
Yep.
And empathy is a skill that people get mixed up with sympathy.
Yeah.
And
Big difference.
empathy is walk a mile in their moccasins. And people, it is a skill. And until you're able to do that with really, really professional skill, you're not on the same page as who you're talking to. You need to shut up and listen, not to respond, to listen, to really stand what is being communicated to you. But not in the car business. They're like, okay, now I have the response. Now I'm going to throw up on you. And I mean, okay.
I would agree 100%. I remember selling a car years ago to a single mother. She was driving a Hyundai Scoop as a trade. I don't know if you remember those cars, but they were dangerous. So she comes in with her son, single mother, and she was very budget conscious. Like, she needed a ride. The Scoop was unsafe at any speed. It was basically falling apart. And we negotiated a very skinny deal. It was fine. And then she went into the business manager's office, a new business manager, and then the business manager tried to sell her something. And she erupted in tears. She just fucking collapsed in the office and started weeping uncontrollably. And the business manager happened to be male, and he just lost it. he got out of the business office and went to talk to me. I'm like, what's going on, dude? He said, I just tried to sell her a product for $10 a month, and she fucking had a mental collapse. And I'm like, did you ask her how much money she had left on her budget, dude? Like, we just negotiated with her for 4 hours. There ain't no money there, dude. That's not the right. That's not those aren't the droids you're looking for.
Doug, where were you going with that?
Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I was just curious, but what's interesting is the traits that were brought up are all interpersonal skills.
Yep.
It's all about how do you relate, how do you interact with a customer. It's not having math skills.
No.
It's not having technology skills.
No.
Everything that you guys said was all about interpersonal skills.
Well, I would say growth mindset too, just because you have to be adaptable. But if you don't have those other skills, I mean, there's a great book by Angela Duckworth. It's called Grit. So what she did is she studied people that were very successful high performers, no matter what their background was. And she came to some conclusions, and she did a study for West Point because they wanted to find out why some people failed and why some people didn't. But she also looked at other industries. And the thing that's, I think if you're gritty, you have these other skills. But if you're not gritty and you don't listen and you don't have a growth mindset, it's pretty hard to help you. Like, you really have to have those key ingredients. It's like making a chocolate chip cookie without chocolate chips. Like, that ain't going to go well. Like, it's not going to be a chocolate chip cookie. Like, it's not going to happen.
But to go back to your, the premise of this event.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I think it was more, do you have the skill to, I don't know, rough somebody up or hoodwink somebody? And it seems like it's evolved into, do you have the skill to relate to customers, to have good interpersonal skills, to, as Mike said, to show empathy.
And to go to battle. You got to go to battle.
Have enthusiasm. It's not about, a cloak, pulling a cloak over their eyes or anything.
It's about going to battle for that customer, not only because that's the right thing to do, because you want to get a deal for the customer, but also because you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get that deal to happen. Now, Russell pointed this out. I was working the customer, I was working the desk, but more importantly, it's about understanding what that customer really needs or wants, and then going to work and making that happen, no matter what the management says, and go, hey, this is what it's going to take. And I remember this, like when I sold cars, I used to just drive so many cars to the point where I sold something. I was just looking for the right car. And the managers used to think I was a total nutcase. I'm like, listen, the person's here, they want to buy something. I don't know what it is, but I'll figure it out, and then I'll sell it to them. And a lot of salesmen just give up. They'd be like, well, they don't want the Honda, they want the Toyota, or they don't want an SUV, they want this. Well, do you really know, though? Did you really have them try some stuff, or did you just give up? And I think that's why grittiness, to me, is the most important thing, because some deals take longer than others. Some are simple. Come in, I want a Toyota Camry, I want a RAV4, I want a whatever. But the one that really struck me, and this is a deal I had the privilege of observing years ago. I was at a Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram store, and this customer came in and they wanted to buy a Dodge Viper, and they had two in the showroom, and they had some SRT 8 or something, right? And we did the whole thing. They couldn't drive the car because it was a Viper or whatever. And then he goes, oh, I got to talk to my wife about it before I can make the decision. I said, so you came in today to buy a Dodge Viper, and you haven't had a conversation about money? Like, really, dude? Like, that's your excuse? You got to be kidding me. And he was like, yeah, you kind of got me on that one. I was like, wow.
Gentlemen,
we're almost over, just so you know, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I know, but my wife is, I need to exit.
Fair enough. Not a problem.
Hey, real quick before you go, Russell, how's your breathing, man?
You're doing good.
Good. Probably another week. I'm having a lot more flexibility. I'm not near as conscious. When I bump into a wall, it's not as painful. But thank you for asking, Mike.
Yeah, you look great, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I'll see you very soon, you guys. Doug, thank you. Ian, thank you.
Yeah, I'm Ian. I just look like
Mike. I'm sure I'll see you in the morning.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Well, you have yourself a great night. I'm almost out of time. So any final thoughts from either Mr. Doug or Mr. Mike?
No, not really.
No thoughts.
Yeah, I get so much value off of following you and what you do, because there's a huge need for what you're offering, and I don't think they understand, or they're just ignoring it.
Next week, I'm going to the Now is Non-Negotiable event in Denver for 2 days. It's just focused on customer experience. So it'll be interesting to see how other industries' ideas are taken by a room full of auto people.
Well, I have to give you my final thought for the day. So I hope that event goes fantastic. So I'm a member of a gym locally, and they have a national chain. They also have locations in Australia. So they have sales like the car business, okay? And they use the same dumb tricks from 20, 30 years ago. So I walked in there the other day. I'll see if I can pull up the photo. I'm actually going to write a letter to the owner, because I just couldn't believe how much of a train wreck this was. And it goes back to the car business. So they had a really sad sign. Oh, here it is. I don't know if you can see this. Let me share it. It is hilarious. So I walked into the early morning the other day, and I saw this sign. So I don't know if you can see the sign. Let me just see if I can share this so everybody can see it. One sec. Stop screen. Share screen. All right. So I walked in and I saw this thing sitting there. And it was like the saddest sale. Oh, there it is. It was like the saddest sale offer I've ever seen in a retail location in my life. The balloons were sad. The skirt thing, I don't even know what that is. The text was like an 8-year-old did it. And I'm sitting there going, really? That's the best you could come up with. So the thing that was funny wasn't that. So when you go to a retail location, pick it, Starbucks, McDonald's, whatever. What do they have? A bunch of screens. So when you go into this gym, they have like an area where you check in, like with a card or a key card or some stuff. And there's a huge open space where they could put a big TV to play offers. But they don't do that. They opted with this. And I'm just like, really? That was the best you could do. And the only thing that I can remember that made me laugh about this more was years ago in the car business. One year for Christmas, the secretary said, "Oh, we're going to get the car salesman to decorate the Christmas tree in the showroom." And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that's not going to go well. And it was like the saddest Christmas tree ever. Like the tinsel wasn't hung right. The lights were not hung right. It was just a train wreck. It was like hilarious. But
better off with that floppy man.
Yeah, it was like
the star helmet.
Yeah, it's like those trees in comedies where they buy the saddest Christmas tree and then they like staple stuff to it.
Christmas tree.
Yeah, something like that.
There you go.
But the thing to your point, Doug, it's about customer experience. But more importantly, you know those things where they do the spin and win with the wheel from like the carnival?
Yeah.
They were doing that one day when I walked in. But the funnier one, you know those guess the jelly bean thing? Where you guess how many jelly beans?
Yeah.
I'm like, so you guys have a gym and you're promoting physical fitness. And your way to do that is to have a big jar of jelly beans. They said, yeah. I said, did you think about that at all, dude? He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, it doesn't really send the right message. It's kind of like having a McDonald's day. Like, what are you doing? Like, let's give away Big Macs when people walk in. We'll motivate them. It's like, what are you doing? Anyway, we're out of time. Any final thoughts, anybody?
No.
All right. Well, have yourself a great night. Thanks for joining in. And if you're going to be at NADA 2026, one of the new sponsors of the Auto Hub show is Numa. So more than likely, I'll be at that booth. I will have new shirts and hats. If you are interested in a free, and let me say that again, a free Auto Hub show hat, I have limited selection remaining, red, blue, and black. I do have some T-shirts remaining. So the Auto Hub show shirts, the only sizes left are larger, even though people told me they wanted larger size. I have those left. All I will need is a mailing address and a hat color choice. So red, blue, and black.
Now. You're screwed now.
Yeah.
I'm going to repost this.
Oh yeah, I got triple XL, man. You want a big shirt? I got it handled. I got triple XL, dude. You're a big guy. I got you. And these are made by a company out of Texas called Branded Bills. They look like this. The only challenge I have is it may take a little longer to get to you because for some reason the border is being more silly. But these are gifts, so whatever. You'll get it. It just might take a week, but that's fine. But it's on me. So take advantage while inventory remains. It's no cost.
We'll talk offline then.
Yeah. No worries. Take it easy. And if you're going to be at NADA 2026, reach out to me. I will have new hats and new shirts for that show, but I'll also be doing interviews at scale. Hopefully we don't have snow in Vegas. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. No snow. No snow in Vegas this next year. Have yourself a great night.
Go Red Sox. Woo-hoo!
Absolutely. All right.
See you guys.
See ya.